Dr. Corey here. Welcome to your motivational mastery session. Hey, today how about we chat about self-sabotage? I'd like to help you understand a bit better what it is, why you do it, okay? And then give you some ideas in terms of how you can shift your actions so that they feel more in line with your values, so that you feel more coherent, so that your thoughts and feelings and actions all align so that you feel more even keel and on track, all right? First though, I want you to remember that engaging in what you might call self-sabotaging behavior does not mean that there's something inherently wrong with you, all right? You're a human. You are a mere mortal, okay? And you have a lot of things that you care about. That right there is at the foundation of why you find yourself gravitating towards certain behaviors that go directly against what you are consciously working toward. Okay? Remember that. But here's the deal. You care about internal things and you care about external things within your environment, all right? Now, even if you have not thought about or reflected deliberately upon these things, here's what you care about. I'm going to tell you what you care about, okay? Because you care about lots of things psychologically that you're probably not accustomed to thinking about. Now, if you listen to me regularly, you've heard me talk about these things before, but you care about having a sense of choice in your life and being able to make decisions for yourself, all right? You care about and you act in ways that aim to support your sense of connection with others also. We all want to feel heard, right? We want to feel seen and we want to feel like we belong. We desire to feel like we're significant. And we know that when we experience a greater sense of belonging and a sense of relatedness with other people, we are healthier and we're happier, okay? So you care about that also. And then you also care about feeling effective. You care about feeling like you can successfully navigate your environment and the events in your life, right? And in some area of our lives, we're more motivated and we feel more alive and content when we feel that effectiveness, that sense of competence. So these things, right, they're called autonomy, the sense of choice. Connection is that sense of belonging. And then competence is that sense of effectiveness. You've heard me talk about these three basic psychological needs that relate to high-powered, heightened and sustained motivation and self-determination. And they're all vital and form the foundation for our behavior. Self-sabotage, okay, becomes a possibility when these three basic psychological needs are threatened or thwarted or dissatisfied in some way. So set that aside for a second, and I want to share with you a conversation that I had with a client recently. And my client was talking about a friend that she was having a conversation with who is actively dieting and dieting pretty darn hard right now. So my friend was telling me that her friend she's questioning how much longer she's going to be able to do this diet, right? It's been 6 months and she feels like she's on the edge all the time of a massive binge. And what my friend told her was that when she was in that sort of a space, that binging a few times a week and self-sabotaging, it was like she and I had talked about before that as she got closer to the date of her competition, okay, or you guys can put it in the context of anything that feels super important to you, okay, that the stakes feel like they're getting higher, all right? The closer you get, the more pressure you may be feeling internally and externally. So some of that's on you, and some of that may be coming in from the outside, depending on your perception of it. So she explained that, you start questioning whether you've done enough and whether you've worked hard enough, or if you even have what it takes when the day of competition arrives to do what you need to do well enough to win. Okay? And she said, that all feels so overwhelming. There, we come back to that pressure-filled space, because what if you don't win, right? Despite all the hard work and all the training and all the time that you've spent, what if what you're expecting to have happen doesn't happen? Okay. She explained, she said that the binges for her were like a scapegoat. So if she didn't win, then she had an excuse, right? It wouldn't be because that she wasn't good enough. It would be because of the binge. And she said, I had something else to blame the results on. And that's easier. That's easier for someone who has pretty low sense of confidence, okay, and self-esteem than saying, yeah, okay, so I've got more work to do. I have things that I need to bolster and really look at strategically. And the other women on stage were better than me. I can see that clearly. That's difficult for a lot of people. Okay? So self-sabotaging behavior can be like a scapegoat. So, yes, when we sabotage, the outcome is often that we don't have to take that level of personal responsibility for possible failure later, right? Let's take the client, for example, who's losing weight. That's their goal, body fat loss. She comes into this process having dieted 10 times, right? And every time she's gained all of her weight back and then some. With every diet. So this time she's at her lowest weight to date. And so she's at this place where she can't even remember having ever been there before. And then she binges. Perhaps this happened. The thoughts related to maintenance and the what ifs that were attached to the potential of not being able to maintain were too difficult for her to bear, to manage, to handle, to cope with, okay? What if she couldn't maintain again? This is what's going on in her mind. Rather than face the discomfort of the possibility of not maintaining, okay, that uncertainty is really, that in-between space is really difficult for a lot of people. She'd sabotage the chances of maintaining altogether. Okay, there, done. Like, now I don't have to worry about it. So, self-sabotage can be looked at as a scapegoat. What are we escaping? Well, we're escaping from the discomfort, in this case, of maintaining something newer, something bigger psychologically, the stakes are higher, and that takes a lot more responsibility, all right? But we can also look at self-sabotage as a product of what are called competing commitments, okay? And here's what I mean by that. The competitor who binges has a commitment to winning the competition, right? They're going in with that in mind. I want to win, or at least placing better than she did or he did compared to the last competition, or at least besting whatever her last effort was. Now, she also has a commitment to not looking like a fool or pleasing and not letting down the people who have supported her through her entire prep process, okay? The potential for her looking like a fool isn't there if she doesn't compete at all, okay? So same with letting the people down if she doesn't place well. So on the flip side, the dieter who binges has a commitment to finally reaching her weight loss goal and maintaining it, but she also has the commitment, maybe I should say and she also has the commitment to certainty. Okay? None of this ambiguity and feeling of uncertainty and feeling good all the time. Do you hear this in the story and what she was saying? So for her, certainty is there because she follows the pattern she's always followed, right? And she can feel good that it's certain she will never be able to maintain her weight loss, okay? You guys can see that underneath the competing commitments, there are some false assumptions being made. False assumptions are otherwise known as limiting beliefs, okay? But whatever the beliefs are, whether they're true or not, that doesn't necessarily matter yet. As humans, we will work to keep our identities intact, okay? And not risk what feels like is core to our character, all right? So beliefs, they form the foundations of our identities. Now, let's tease that apart. Let's look at what the assumptions being made are with each of those competing commitments. So, the assumptions that the person with the competing commitment of feeling good all the time is making, okay? What assumption is she making? She's making the assumption that feeling badly means that she hasn't figured something out, and that means that she's stupid. That's a pretty big assumption that's going to filter down into her behavior. Now, what are the possible assumptions associated with the commitment to not looking like a fool? Okay. The assumptions there could be that, well, you know, if I miss the mark in some way, people will think I'm stupid. They'll think that I'm inadequate and they won't like me. That's a pretty big assumption operating in the background too. Let's take the assumption of the assumptions associated with letting people down. Okay, what are they out there connected to? I can't let people down. Why? Well, because my performance dictates how much people like me and how much people care about me as a person, and others have expectations for how I should perform. Whoa, okay, if you've got that operating in the background, how much pressure is that going to put on you? Is it even true? That's why I call them assumptions, guys. We feel like they're true, but we need to investigate them. Let's do one more. So the assumptions associated with certainty, okay? Having it all figured out. Why do we need to have it all figured out? Well, because I believe that without certainty, we're out of control, and I won't be able to measure up. And, you know, certainty and this feeling of knowing what will happen, being able to kind of, as best I can, predict the future, means that I'm intelligent, yeah, and worthy of praise. See how we have to kind of dig deep to get to what's operating and driving us in a certain direction? You know, these statements are false in so many ways that they create the barriers to us living fully and living openly and living curiously. So here's my beef with the term self-sabotage. When you look at it from these perspectives, we're not actually trying to sabotage ourselves, okay? That's not our intention. That's not our goal, to try to get in our own way. What we're trying to do, what we're attempting to do, is to protect ourselves. We're attempting to protect the vital vitamins of vitality, the 3 basic psychological needs, okay? Autonomy, the sense of choice; competence, that sense of effectiveness in managing our environments; and then the sense of connection, which is that belonging. We're not intentionally trying to hurt ourselves. So you can see how each of the commitments we've discussed are related to those 3 needs, can't you? Now, when we say we're self-sabotaging, we're falling into that trap of believing that we're trying to hurt ourselves. And the big question is, well, why? Why would I do that? We're asking the wrong question, because that's not the intention at all. So how about we begin to do the work to reflect upon how we're attempting to help ourselves meet our most important psychological needs. And perhaps we call it self-protection, and we ask the more appropriate, generative, curiosity-opening questions, which are things like, what am I trying to protect here that may not need protecting? Or what am I believing right now that is threatening to the needs? You know, the 3 basic psychological needs. What am I needing right now that are really connected to my sense of vitality? So, you know, when you start assessing your competing commitments and the assumptions that are supporting those competing commitments, you guys are going to learn a lot about yourselves. You're going to learn why you keep struggling, and you're going to drill down into the limiting beliefs that are holding you back. Have an awesome day, guys. Subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss these videos. It's the Diet Doc Weight Loss. And I have a separate playlist called Motivational Mastery, all put together for you to practice living your best lives. Thanks, guys. Take care. Have a great week. Bye.